Hello everyone, and welcome for this video tutorial on aepp, and especially on the field group manager part and then a bit of data type manager. And this video I want to focus a bit deeper on how you can use the field group and data type manager and a bit of also schema manager to create all of the artifacts that you want to do on schema level for aepp directly via the API. As usual, as the last video, I will show you that you can start the element directly in the a notepad on the notebook, sorry, or the Jupyter Lab notebook. For doing that, if you are on the Windows machine, you do Shift and right click, open a terminal, and just type Jupyter Lab in my case, or Jupyter Notebook if you have a notebook installed, or any of the interface. There are no other interfaces that you can use. And then once you have that, you can access then the notebook interface, and we will start from the previous information. So I already did some videos about schema, the schema API, and what type of availability information you have and what you can retrieve, and how you can use schema manager to retrieve more meaningful information out of the schema that you have in your sandbox. And especially if you want to have the JSON dictionary in Python information, or if you want to have the flattened version in the CSV format, or in that case data frame, and if you want to actually look for some field, search for some attribute, or doing more things. So now we're going to go a bit deeper and going to the field group and start fresh from it. All of the information that are going to be provided in this video are documented here, and you can fill all of this information here, and you see those different options to create the field group manager setup, and all of these information are described here. If you wish to have more documentation, or if you wish more information on this documentation, let me know either as a GitHub issue, or if you want to participate. It's an open source project, and everyone can actually provide a pull request that I'm happy to support for more documentation. So we showed that field groups are available at schema levels. So the schema is composed of a class and then of different field groups, and those field groups define the different fields that are available on your elements. The field groups can be modified directly via aepp, and that's what we're going to do. And instead of changing an existing one, I want to demonstrate to you how we can start from scratch directly from the field group management. So I'm going to create a new element that is going to be a new field group. Field group. I'm going to create a couple of more fields so I can start from the beginning. And my new field group will be called new field group. And for that, I can use the field group manager that I have imported directly. If I go to my field here, directly from aepp, I imported the field group manager. So I'm going to use field group manager, and I can field group manager. I can specify a title in that. And here I'm going to call it my new field group. And I want to specify in which context, in which sandbox this field group will be attached to. So I'm going to use the configuration that I have imported, which is prod, and I have done that on the setup. You see that I have used aepp and import a config file, and then import the JSON configuration that I have described in one of my previous videos, and specify which sandbox, and by the connect instance parameter, been able to save that in that variable that I'm now able to use in all of the different classes that aepp provide. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to just start like this. So you see that contrary to the previous video where I extracted the information out of the schema manager, now I will start directly from the field group manager. You could start a field group manager with a specific ID, and then it will automatically build the field group manager around the ID you have defined it. But here I want to start from scratch. from scratch, so there is nothing, and we will see that by default it will be attached to two classes, experience event and profile classes. aepp, Adobe Experience Platform, is built mainly on two classes. There are more for other contexts, such as B2B context or even lookup context. But in this video tutorial, I will just follow for two, which is complex enough. Most of the time, when what people don't realize, if you are in your schema UI, you already have defined which classes you are going to use. So here you see the experience event one. And when you create a field group, if I were to create a field group in the UI doing add, then it's automatically create the field group in the context of the class that you have defined in your schema. Using the aepp API, the field group will be automatically created for both profile and event. So in both two classes, if you want to change, you have the possibility to change and extend or change the field group class that you want to have. It's a list. You cannot just have a list of one of a B2B schema, for example, if you want to have your field group associated to a B2B class. An important thing that I encounter a lot is that when the client implement their first field group, then they are doing something in profile or in event, and then they would like to use the same field group, which is the purpose of a field group, that to be used on separate schema, but the schema is a different class, and then they cannot find the field group anymore. It's because the field group is being created with event, and now you're creating a new schema that is a profile, and you cannot find because the field group associated only to event. There is a way in the API to do this. So if you go, there is a documentation on Experience League about that. But if you use the app, I have instantiated the schema API. So this is the official schema API elements, and there are some additional methods available for that. And if you do that, actually just going to show you this method. So if I have this, I have a method called extend field groups. And here you can specify the field groups ID, and the value is the list of classes you want to extend. So by default, it will extend for profile and event. So if you pass any of the field group you have created in one of those two classes and call the here would be your field group ID only profile, for example, it's only attached to a profile class, then by just calling this method, it will automatically extend it not only to profile, but also to event, and you will be able to see it in the UI for both schemas in profile and event. So this is something I didn't explain previously, but I think it's important to know, and that's sometimes a mistake that people are saying, and then they tends to try to recreate the same field groups, and then it's really getting hard. Or even worse, they're creating data type instead of field groups, because then somehow it's available, but then they're creating field group out of data type because the data type cannot be attached to a schema. It's getting really complicated, and it's very simple if you know the trick. And that's what I wanted to show you. So now I'm going forward with the creation of a new field group. So you actually see I'm going to create these new field groups. And what you can do in the new field groups, you can look at the definition of this field group. So it just have a title, it just have powered by app as a description. I can actually set another description if I want. And the definition has nothing much, and it just tells you that he has experience event and context profile as a class associated to it. So what you can do from this one is actually add a field to this. And for this, you can name the path of the field. So in my case, I know any field that I am attaching to your environment are always going to be attached to the tenant object that you have in your organization. Every client has their own tenant object. So here I'm in EMEA Consulting Organization, and you see my tenant is EMEA Consulting. If you don't know your tenant, you can actually, I think, look in here, tenant ID, you will have it, or in the schema directly, you can do I think here you prod schema get tenant ID. It's a method, and that gives you what is. It doesn't have a underscore here. Underscore is important, but yeah, it doesn't because it's technically your tenant is EMEA consulting, and the underscore is just for saying it's a private one. The way that you can have a private function in programming language. So here I'm going just to copy this EMEA consulting and just say this is a new element. It's a path. I need to specify which type it is. There is some explanation of what type of type are actually supported. In my case, I want to take an object. I want to create an object out of it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say just an object. And for me, I'm just going to define as well what is inside that object as well in another call. So I'm going to add this field. And you can see that there are custom field, and now it's MBA Consulting is a type object, and the title is MBA Consulting. So I want to now add MBA Consulting custom object, and this is going to be another object inside. And you see I'm extending the path, so I'm going to do that. And you see now it's building this nice format. And now inside it, I want to create a string 1, which is going to be just a string, a type string. And here you see it create the string. So now I'm going to create integer. That's going to be integer. I want to create a long number. It's going to be long. So you see it's creating this long number, and it's a type integer, and it has some maximum and external value. You can add I don't know, boolean if you want. My boolean is going to be boolean. I think it's going to be like this, and you see it's what type it is. This is going to go on like this. I don't know what we want to do. Which you can also add data type that are custom data type. So it will be my data type. Here you need to specify data type, and here you have in that case the data type capability that reference. You see here that's parameter, it's called reference. If you use data type as a data type, you can pass the reference, and here you will pass the reference to that data type, which will be the ID of the data type you pass. But here I don't have any data type that I would like, but maybe in the future we want to add that, and I can show you. So now I have all of the field. The cool thing about IPP and this field group manager is that you can do to tick to see what this looks like. This look all right. I have my string 1, my integer, my long number, and my boolean as it is. You can also do to data frame to verify things as you want. And you see the sometimes missing description and so on. So maybe I would have needed to do description in the future, but let's do that in a moment. And the cool thing about it is that now you can create this new field group directly. So I'm going to do a new field group, create a field group like this. And when it's creating it, it's going to do new field groups state. You see it's a state new. Now I'm going to create this field group. I'm going to check the state, and now it's existing. And if I look in my EMEA consulting, I'm in my prod environment, and I look at my field groups, in my custom field groups, you see that my new field group that I've just created now is available, and it has my different definition that you may want to have. There are a more complex way to add field. The add field capability, and this is just loading while this is loading. Add field operation, prepare an operation for adding field, but add field is the most is the easiest one. And here are all of the capability that you can have. And you can see if you want to use an array, you can use arrays of object, for example. You can say it's an object and it's also an array. In that case, it will create an array of object. And you can always reference all of the things in this way. And if this wants to actually reload, let me reload that. Oh. Now I have my email consulting, my custom object, my integer, long number, boolean, and my string. Okay, that is very nice. And actually, I would like to have that new field group to data frame, tf new, let's call it like this. And automatically, I think I have everything. And here I will just to Excel, and I will call it my new field group. Excel 6, I think. I think I can do edx equals false. And let's have a look if I didn't mess up the things. And here it is. So now I was explaining you have the capability to see all of the things like this. But the cool thing about this is that now I can also extend these elements, this definition directly, let's call it, instead of string, to my new string. And now I want to also make sure I have all of the things. So this is an integer. This is a long. I have some description, important string. This is then an important string. And this is my other important string. And here it's important that you have XDM type defined, the path defined, the type and the title. Description is not mandatory. The map type is if you are using a map type information, then you can actually define you can map based on integer or based on string. It's more complicated. It's not recommended to use map because they cannot be used in many of the downstream services in IP as of today. So I will not recommend doing that, but now I will just create this new field and I added those description. And I'm going to do now, taking the new field groups, this method is called import field group definition. And this going to take the name of the files. So it's going to be my new field groups, XLS. And you can specify the sheet name. It's going to be, I believe, sheet 1. Oh, sheet 1 is it. And now let's see if this works as expected. Of course not. Let me check. Permission, of course, because I didn't close this, so I cannot read it. And now, so don't do this mistake. Close your file before. This time, okay, now it works. And the cool thing is now, as everything has been imported, you can also check it out to dict. You see that string 2 has been added. And you can also check to data frame. This time you see the description have been added. And now you can actually, XDM type is none to them because they are not defined in the elements, but they are no problem because they are already part of the things. And what you can do, you can update the field group. And then you can actually now send that. It's been sent, so I can actually reload this in the UI. The custom object, I have now this string 2 which is also very important, and it's my other important string, whichever way I wrote it, my long number. This is a long, and so forth. So this is how the things are being now handled. As you may have seen as well, this new field group has the capability to extend the field groups. So you can actually extend the field group by adding a new field group as well. And update class supported is actually passing the new area of class. So what I was explaining at the beginning, you can use directly the schema class and extend the schema, or you can create a field group manager and then update the class supported by passing directly the list of the class ID to support for that field group. So if your field group only support event and you want it to support profile and events, then it's a way also to do that. So we have now created a new field groups, and what we can do, we can also create the data type by the same method. It's actually exactly the same thing. I'm just going to do it very quickly for the sake of it. So a new data type will be data type manager, and now config will be the config will be prod. The title will be my data type new, whatever way. And in this case, we actually do not need, because data type are actually living inside field groups, we do not need to specify the tenant in that. So when you add a field, you can actually directly pass your custom object and specify that this is an object. And what cool things you can do is actually you can also set object component, and if you want to specify here string info, and this is going to be a string. Specify the type. That doesn't give you many options, but it's maybe sometimes it's enough. You can otherwise do the operation as I did before, first creating the object and then creating the element outside that object, but this create everything automatically in one go, and then see other double, for example, and this is gonna be a double now. So it's creating all of the things, and now actually I can have a look into this. Predict your custom object string or the double, it's a number, and now I can actually create data type. Before that, you will see that the state is new, and I didn't show you, but before as well in the field group there was the ID is none, so nothing to return. So once I create that data type, this data type has been created, and now the ID is provided and the state is existing. And if I look inside my implementation, then in the data type, can look at the custom data type available. And now I have my data type new that has just been created for that reference. Okay, of course, it takes some time to load. Okay, the UI doesn't like it so far. Just give me a sec. That's why I'm not using the UI so much. And here you have your custom object and your double type and your different default value available. So now we have created our field groups, and you can now imagine that you can also create a schema, new schema. So my new schema will be based on the schema manager. The title will be new schema demo. And by default, the class that you're going to use are profile. You can change that if you want. There is some explanation on which one you want to use. So for example, experience event if you want. You can also use segment definition. There is B2B classes that you will be able to use or else. And you can specify the config to tell in which environment you want to do. So I'm going to use config prog. So as of today, the new schema predict is empty. It only contains the element based on the class that I've specified. But what I can do, I can now say add a field group. And here you can see that I can send either a string, a dictionary, or field group, the field group manager definition. So in my case, I'm just going to take my field groups. I don't remember field groups. It's called new field groups. And I'm going just to specify the field groups ID like this. ID. So it's automatically adding it. And now if I actually do the dictionary, you see that all of my things that are coming from these new field groups is actually being encompassed into that. And you can now add more field groups if you want, of course, add descriptor as I was explaining before, but already create create the schema that will automatically define. Go back here and browse to the schema. And you will see now that the new schema demo is been there. It's not yet enabled for profile, but it contains my new field groups and contains all of the information associated with that. So this is the power of IPP and the managers. I think it's very, very powerful and can automate pipeline and creation of artifacts in Adobe Experience Platform in a more easy way and maintaining more specifically in a more easy way. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any question onto that. And yeah, I see you on the next video where we are now going to dive deeper on other part of the IPP elements. Have a great rest of the day.